But first, Britain insists its oil tanker that was seized by Iran was in Omani territorial waters, and it's called for the vessel to be released in a letter to the UN Security Council. Oman has also urged Iran to let the tanker go. It comes after the British government summoned Tehran's top diplomat in London. On Friday, a cargo ship was making its way through the Strait of Hormuz, heading to Saudi Arabia, when it was surrounded by 4 Iranian boats and a helicopter. Tehran says the tanker was violating maritime rules. Right, we will go to Tehran with Dorsa Jabbari in just a moment, though. First, let's go to Nadim Barber, who is covering the story from London. And Nadim, the fact that the British are now saying that this tanker was in Oman's territorial waters makes a huge difference. What is the significance of that?
Well, the significance, Martine, is that they're saying this was clearly an illegal act. The line first came from Penny Mordaunt, Britain's defence minister, on Saturday. It was taken up by Jeremy Hunt, the Foreign Secretary, later that day. And now, as you've said, Britain has officially written to the UN Security Council, and in the letter, it says the ship was exercising the lawful right of transit passage in an international strait as provided for under international law. And it goes on to say that international law requires that the right of transit passage shall not be impeded, and therefore the Iranian action constitutes illegal interference. Why does this matter? Well, on Saturday it emerged from Tehran that the authorities were portraying this as a tit-for-tat action, retaliation for the seizure 2 weeks before by Britain of an Iranian vessel in Gibraltar, which Britain accused of breaking EU sanctions on oil going to Syria. Whatever the truth of that, Britain is now pushing back and saying that Iran had no right to seize this vessel on Friday. They say their response will be considered but robust. Jeremy Hunt spoke to his counterpart, Mohammed Javad Zarif, on the phone on Saturday, said he was extremely disappointed, but it's possible now that the pressure could be ramped up further in the coming days. And
do we have any idea, any indication as to what that robust but measured response could be?
Well, Martine, we are hearing from at least one UK newspaper on Sunday that the government is considering reapplying EU and United Nations sanctions on Iran, which were lifted in 2016 after the so-called nuclear deal with Iran, the JCPOA, which has been under so much pressure. Jeremy Hunt will be speaking to Parliament, outlining his response. We've also seen 2, at least, meetings of the emergency cabinet meeting, COBRA, over the weekend. There's also a lot of warnings going out from former military officials to whoever's the next Prime Minister. It's likely to be Boris Johnson, that they will have to start taking this dossier a lot more seriously. Some are accusing both Mr. Johnson and Jeremy Hunt, the Foreign Secretary, of taking their eye off the ball and, in quote marks, allowing this to happen in the Gulf because they were too busy with the Conservative Party leadership race. That may or may not be the case, but there is a lot of pressure on the government to show that it is taking action.
Nadim Barber, live in London. Thank you very much for that. Now let's go to Dorsa Jabbari, our correspondent who's in the Iranian capital, Tehran. And first of all, there have been comments coming from senior Iranians, Dorsa, which established beyond doubt, it would appear, that this is indeed action taken by Iran, reciprocal action, if you like, in response to the seizure of that Iranian tanker off the coast of Gibraltar on July the 4th.
Well, it's certainly not a coincidence, but officially the government has not said that that is why this act was carried out on Friday in the Strait of Hormuz. But we've heard from the Speaker of Parliament, Ali Larijani, when he was asked a question by reporters in the Parliament earlier on Sunday, and he responded that basically the British committed piracy and the Revolutionary Guards responded. Just one sentence, but it sums up exactly how many feel here about what has transpired between the two countries over the past few weeks. The Iranians feel that the seizure of the Grace 1 tanker on July 4th was unjustified and illegal. All levels of government, including the supreme leader himself, has spoken about it, saying that it is an act of maritime piracy, and they're demanding the release of that tanker, which was carrying 2 million barrels of Iranian crude oil. The Iranians say the destination was not Syria. Therefore, the seizure by the British Navy is illegal. Now, we also heard from officials from Hormuzgan province this morning who have this British tanker in Bandar Abbas port with the 23 crew members. The official there says that they are carrying out what they call a technical investigation because they believe that this tanker was without a transponder signal for 8 hours in the Strait of Hormuz, and they believe that this could have caused some very serious accidents with other vessels because this British ship was not did not have its transponder on, so they couldn't communicate with them, and this is why they've seized it. They say that they will continue their investigation in the coming days as well.
And Dorsa, we learned that Iran's most senior diplomat in the UK, the chargé d'affaires, was summoned to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and that chargé has been letting us know a little bit as to what went on in that meeting via Twitter.
Yes, certainly. He's tweeted this morning saying that the UK government should contain those political forces who want to escalate tensions between Iran and the UK beyond the issue of ships. This is quite dangerous and unwise at a sensitive time in the region. Iran, however, is firm and ready for different scenarios. This is the general feeling that the Revolutionary Guard took control of a situation that could have easily gotten out of hand in the Strait of Hormuz on Friday, and the Media Relations Department of the Revolutionary Guards released the dramatic video that we've seen over the past 24 hours about how this mission was carried out. The Iranians believe that it is their duty to protect these waters, and the Revolutionary Guard has said that the Strait of Hormuz is theirs to protect, and they will do everything they can to make sure that the passage of ships that go through this very busy passageway is secure. And this is an example of what they've done on Friday, despite the criticism that it's drawn from the British government.
Dorsa Jabbari, live in the Iranian capital, Tehran. Thank you.